Hey guys, welcome back. Today I've got for you the Bridgeford Foods tip of the month, and it's a simple tip, one that I think will have a big impact on your fishing, and one that I think a lot of you guys might actually disagree with, but bear with me, give it a try, and then let me know what you think afterwards. And specifically what my tip is centered around is how do you mount your bullet weight on a Texas rig? How do you keep it locked in place? And most people would tell you there's really two ways to go about it. One is to simply use a bobber stop, and then the other is more old school, and it's to use just a simple peg-it system. And right now, the majority of people would say that the bobber stop is the way to go. It seems like that's the most common trend. But I'm here to tell you guys that the bobber stop has an effect on your fishing and really is probably not the best way to go about it. The nice thing with a bobber stop is the fact that you can put your bobber stop on your line, and then throughout the day you can switch weights simply by just cutting your hook off, putting a new weight on. If you want to change weights, your bobber stop stays above the weight, and from that standpoint you can use the same bobber stop most of the day. That's a plus. But the couple negatives with this is, one, I've seen people actually hurt their line when they put it on. They'll slide a bunch of line through and then slide the bobber stop on, and when they pull it tight, this little wire can sometimes nick your line. It's definitely something you want to be aware of when you do use a bobber stop. You want to make sure that you cut off, or at least tie your hook on above where you put your bobber stop on when you slid it on. Most people will only use probably a couple inches of line, so it's not that big of a deal, but I have seen people slide it up like a foot and then tie their hook on below where they did that, and at that point they may have injured their line, nicked their line when they were putting it on, which then means it's going to be potentially brittle and you break off a fish. But more than anything, the plus to this peg-it is when you put it on, you slide the peg-it through with your line, you lock it in place, and you cut off both sides. When you do that, the key with this is it locks onto your line much better than the bobber stop. So when you're fighting a fish, what'll happen with the bobber stop is you almost always have the weight slide up, and then you get your bobber stop a ways above your line where the fish, or the hook where your fish is hooked. And at that point, every time the fish goes to jump or makes a move, that weight is swinging freely. And sometimes that weight, when it slides down, is enough pressure to actually disengage that hook from the fish's mouth, and you lose the fish. With a bobber stop, or with a peg-it, when that happens, it slides up, and at that point, the weight is then locked away from your hook, and it stays there. It doesn't slide back down. It'll slide up, stay up a foot or so above, and at that point that's less leverage for the fish to use to shake the hook. It's definitely a bonus. I have found over the years that I lose less fish when I use a peg-it system over the bobber stops, and I think that if you guys try it, you'll also find that that's the case. It really just, in my opinion, holds better. It stays in place better, and at the same time, when you need it to slide away, when you set the hook, it will slide away, and then it doesn't come back, and it just will lead to better hookups and more fish caught throughout the day. This was something that I wouldn't have necessarily believed a few years ago, but I had several tournaments where I lost a lot of fish. I made the switch, and I lose very few fish since then. So guys, give it a try. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your input, so leave a comment, leave a like if you like it, and let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.